There's something interesting about the way we look at greatness. Like when an athlete breaks a world record, that moment feels crazy and unique. And typically the crowd is going wild and people are screaming. It's emotional, it's intense, and it's usually very memorable. And that's the part we all see. But what I've been thinking about is what actually comes before that moment. Because the record didn't just happen that day. It's usually preceded by years of training, repetition, days where nothing really changes. And I think we overlook that part a lot. This is your weekly reset. Let's dive in. I was thinking about this moment because recently I had a huge milestone of hitting 1,000 subs on YouTube. And for me, that was something I had wanted for a long time. So in my head, I thought it was going to feel like a moment. I had already envisioned how get the balloons and, 1K, and, we're here. But when it happened, I remember I opened the YouTube Studio app. I saw the number and I just thought to myself, this is dope. And that was it. Like I expected like a huge running around, like that was it. And it kind of caught me off guard. I'm not going to lie, because I expected more. Not in a greedy way, just in a this should feel bigger kind of way. But then I started reflecting and thinking about it more over the next couple of days as I was just doing my usual reflections of how we got here. And I realized the part that actually meant something to me wasn't the number of 1,000 subs. It was everything before it. I do vividly remember the first time I ever recorded myself, not knowing what I was doing, no media training, no camera presence, stuttering all over the place, doing retake after retake, trying to just figure out ways to get better as I continued to show up. The thing that stood out to me during those days, it was the desire to continue doing the same thing over and over again. And in that process, learning through the areas of opportunity that would improve my camera presence, that would improve how I show up as a speaker. And this has been going on for almost 2 years now. And to be honest, most of those days and today included, they typically never feel like progress, if I'm being 100. They just feel like work. You clock in, you clock out, and you just never pay attention to ways in which you're personally improving from an individual standpoint. But if you pay close attention to that process, there's a shift that usually happens and something changes. For me personally, it felt like there was a point where I stopped looking at what I was doing from a perspective of I need to get this result. And it became more about I actually genuinely enjoy doing this. I love the process of getting better. I love the process of figuring it out, of learning different facets of the process. And this wasn't the case every day I did this, but it was just enough to keep going. And I think that part is where the shift usually happens in terms of whether you continue doing something that you're passionate about or you do it for 6 months and you drop off. what I realized is you're no longer doing it for something. You're just doing it. It's a part of your DNA now. And once that is embedded into your brain, you rewire how you think about that said thing. So, as a society, I think we've been structured in a wrong way. We focus so much on the moment, the milestone, the breakthrough, that this is it feeling, you know? But those moments are rare. There's a reason why world records are world records, and they're very rare things to achieve because athletes don't typically break world records every day. But most of their life is just regular training, consistently showing up and trying to get better, doing the same thing, even when nothing exciting is happening. And I think that's the part as a society we don't respect enough. We've been socially conditioned to appreciate those big moments because of the dopamine hit that comes with celebrating it with our peers or social media. But we rarely get to grasp the magnitude of what it took to get there. And I think that's where there's a disconnect as to why we have top performers and just people who show up and get the job done. And when I thought about reframing this concept for myself, I started understanding that boring part is the whole thing. That's where the skill is built. That's where discipline comes from. That's where resiliency to keep going is tested the most. And in reality, that's where you actually change, not at the finish line. It's during training that you build the endurance to be able to get to the finish line. If you train for a marathon, shout out to the people who've been running marathons, it's not about getting to the finish line at a set time or whatever the case may be. It's about, do you have the mental discipline and resiliency to train your body and your mind to go the distance? The finish line is just a byproduct of the training. When I hit that milestone, I don't necessarily felt like it was the beginning of something great as I had felt before in the past, where I would get to a certain achievement and I would feel like, okay, this is going to push me now. This got me motivated. No, this felt like, got to show up again. Basically, continuation. Because when I look back, the result was a byproduct of a process that I had already been living through repetition, through uncertainty, through the days where I felt like nothing was shifting. So I believe my nervous system didn't really process the result as a shocking thing. It just felt like this is what happens if you consistently train or you consistently show up. And to be honest, I think that's why it didn't really hit the way I expected it to. I will caveat by saying I don't expect this to be the norm for everybody else, but it was something that I just had to reflect on because I didn't understand why. So maybe we don't need more highlight moments. Maybe we need a better relationship with the part of the process that doesn't feel like anything. Because when I think about it, that's where everything is actually being built. So this week, I've been thinking about this. What part of your life right now feels repetitive or slow or like it's not really leading anywhere? And what if that's actually the part that matters the most? This was your weekly reset, and I hope I can see you guys next week. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Peace and love.